Hi, this is Scott Richardson from the Liberal Gun Club, and today, next in our series of Make It Safe videos, I'm going to talk about bolt-action weapons and how to unload them and make them safe. This is an old World War II era bolt-action rifle, but most modern bolt-action rifles work on the same principles. This just happens to be an old example, but it's good for our purposes today. You'll notice here that our bolt is closed, and the bolt is in battery here, so we don't know if there's a bullet in the chamber here, if this gun could fire or not. And the trigger is cocked and locked and ready to fire. Should we encounter a gun in this configuration and we want to make sure that it's empty, the first thing we need to do is observe the rules of gun safety, keeping this muzzle pointed in a generally safe direction. We don't want anybody in front of the muzzle of this gun. No people, no pets. We want to be very careful about that. Secondly, we don't want to touch the trigger. There's no reason to touch the trigger during the unloading procedure, so we want to be very careful that we don't touch the trigger. And third, we want to remain in control of the gun. We control this gun. We don't want to leave it in an unknown state, in case somebody happens upon it and makes a tragic mistake. So, bolt-action gun in this configuration, in this situation, to unload it, first thing we want to do is open the bolt right here. So this bolt handle flips up, pull the bolt straight back. Okay, now we can see inside the chamber that the chamber is clear. We can look down through the top of the magazine and see if there's ammunition in the magazine. If there were ammunition in the magazine, at that point, what you're going to want to do is look at the bottom of the gun and look for a magazine release. On this rifle, it happens to be inside the trigger guard. But most modern weapons have it outside the trigger guard, usually up in this area right here. So what you're going to do is pull back on this one, and you'll see that it now pops that base plate and spring open, and it would then release any ammunition that was in the gun. You can now see down through that there's no ammunition in the weapon. You can then now close this magazine and inspect the chamber once more, see that it's empty. So now it's safe to put a chamber flag in and transport the weapon or bag it or whatever you need to do with it. Now, should you encounter a bolt-action rifle that doesn't have a magazine release, some of the old surplus weapons may not have a magazine release. So if you encounter one of these, the way you would unload that is to once again open your bolt, and you can now reach in and pop the rounds out of the magazine and remove them by hand. Some that's easier to do than others. The option of last resort is to cycle the action as many times as it takes to release the ammunition from the magazine. You have to remember that while you're doing this, you're putting the bolt in battery, and that trigger is live the entire time. So you're going to be extremely careful that you do not touch the trigger while you're cycling the bolt. And do not touch that trigger unless the bolt is back and out of battery. So that's your method of last resort. Ideally, once again, what we would do is we would open our bolt, pull it backward, inspect our chamber. Leaving the bolt open, we're going to turn the gun upside down and look for a magazine release. Activate the magazine release, releasing any ammunition in the magazine. Inspect it. Check visually from the top down, make sure that the magazine is empty, make sure the chamber is empty, and now we can insert our chamber flag and transport the weapon.